Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Lindsey Hein, who is the host of the podcast, I'll Have Another with Lindsey Hein. Lindsey is a marathon runner and coach who lives in Indianapolis, Indiana with her husband Glenn and their 3 boys with a 4th boy on the way. Lindsey is passionate about community and sharing people's stories that inspire and motivate. Lindsey, welcome to the Fit 15. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this.
So I know that I love listening to your podcast, and a lot of my guests I've had on have really enjoyed listening to it. So that's a really great thing that we should get the listeners to go check out as well, like if they want a longer episode to listen to on a walk or run. But I guess what I'd love to have you share first, even though I know for I think your episode 100, you shared more of your story, but could you just kind of tell us how you got into running and kind of your fitness journey a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, I have been running since I was 15. So gosh, that makes 19 years now, almost 20. Oh my gosh, that's feeling really old, you guys. So I've been running for like 20 years and ran throughout high school, was an okay runner, ran cross country and track, and was really happy to hang it up and just enjoy college. And when I say hang it up, I don't mean I stopped running. I just mean stop like running on a team.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed college. I worked out throughout, but wasn't a big priority of mine. And then the summer my husband and I got married, we decided it was a good idea to run a marathon, buy a house, and get married, because none of those things are like time consuming or stressful, right?
Yeah.
So we did that and we ran our first marathon. And I like the night before the race, I kind of gave myself this goal to qualify for Boston, because the whole time we trained, we didn't really know what we were doing, and we just kind of ran with our Timex watches. And you know, like for 20-mile runs, we just like go run for 3 hours. Like we never really knew exactly what we were doing. Now looking back and at the marathon time that I ran, I'm thinking we probably did a lot more 22-mile long runs for that training. But so anyway, the night before the race, the expo, I just decided based on my half marathon time I had recently ran that I would go ahead and try to qualify for Boston. And I did that by like a minute. And so, yeah. And back in the day, the qualifying times were 5 minutes slower. But it's funny because during that race even, you know, I ran with my Timex watch. It was so uncalculated, but I remember like every step at the end of that race looking at my watch, and that was just the total time was telling me, you know, where I was at. So anyway, I decided when I finished that race, I was, you know, I think you either have these feelings of when you finish your first marathon, oh my gosh, I want to do that again, or oh my gosh, that was so painful, I never want to do that again. But since I qualified, I knew that was something that people spend years working towards. And I just decided that I should go ahead and do it. And it was not a great experience. My second marathon, I just was like such a small fish in a big sea of runners. And I felt like everybody there knew each other. And I was just this like scared little girl. And
sure.
Yeah. And then a couple marathons later, I kind of got into the groove and really started enjoying it and figuring out how to train and how to race. And it's been really nice because my husband also runs as well. And we're both like, we're competitive with ourselves and we train hard, but we don't take ourselves too seriously, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think in the fall, November, I finished my 14th marathon, and that was after 3 kids, and my youngest was 1. And then a month later, found out I was pregnant with my 4th. And so, you know, I'm just excited to be done with the carrying baby stages of my life after the pregnancy and train for some fast marathon times in my mid to late 30s.
I love that. And we've been shown through a lot of the awesome role models we have that it could be done. So
Yeah, yeah. I did run my fastest marathon this fall after 3 kids. And before that, my second fastest marathon was after my first baby. I wasn't able to run any between the second and third because I ended up getting injured. But yeah, I think that part of that was experience for me, but part of it
yeah,
was just mindset. And
sure.
I feel like I just, after having my kids, and this may not be the case for everybody, but for me, I think I just became more mentally tough.
Mm-hmm. Which it's funny because I know you got me to finally go and buy. I listened to your episode with Dina Castor, the first one, and then I was like,
Yes.
I got to mark off. I need to pre-order the book, and then I didn't pre-order it, and then I listened to the second one. I was like, I have to get this book, but I'm like halfway through. So, I mean, talk about mindset and how that's so important, right? I mean, I'm really glad that I found it before my next race because I definitely need it.
Yeah, I'm reading it too. I think I'm about 35% done. I read like 4 books at once, so I never get through one very fast. But we have a Facebook group with my podcast. You should join because we read like one book together every month, and that's the book we're reading right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I have to join, and I have not yet, but I was going to ask you too, like, what are some of the books that you've enjoyed and loved, whether they're running or related or not, just kind of that have inspired you in your running or working on workout goals in general.
Yeah, one of the books that we read with the podcast was How Bad Do You Want It by Matt Fitzgerald. Have you
Hmm.
read that?
No.
It's so good. You have to read that. It's a really good mix of like storytelling, but also some science research, but not too in depth with the science.
Sure.
Because one of the other books we read was Endure by Alex Hutchinson, and people either loved it or were like, I can't get through it, because he definitely gets real scientific in there, and it's less of a storytelling approach, which for me, I just didn't enjoy as much. But I would definitely say How Bad Do You Want It by Matt Fitzgerald. The first book club book we ever did was Ronda Rousey's book, which
Oh, cool.
was an MMA fighter. Yeah, and that was a really good one too. And she talks a lot about mental toughness in that book as well. But sometimes we just read like regular old books. Like we read.
Hi, friends. It's Catherine. If you are joining us for that out and back walk and only have 15 minutes, that was your halfway point reminder. Make sure you turn around. All right, back to Lindsay.
Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. So I
Hmm.
try to like mix it up so it's like 50-50, like half
Yeah.
mental and physical training, half just for fun read.
Well, I definitely feel like trying to get back into a reading routine has been helpful to try to help me like unwind and get the sleep I need. Doesn't always work,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, if you
I
read before bed instead of watch TV, for sure.
so I'm like, I have to get more. I mean, I'm like you. I used to just read one book at a time, but now I have a stack of books, and I've made a lot of friends who end up being authors, so that I have their books, and it's out
Yes.
of control. It's like a leaning tower of books by my bed. But
Yeah,
that's
and if your friend wrote a book, you have to read it.
I know, right? So, well, awesome, Lindsay. So, I guess going through, I know you've interviewed so many amazing people on your podcast show. Like, any key nuggets that you have taken away from all the episodes that would be the things that you think about that maybe our listeners would want to think about?
Well, I think that a theme that I've heard from a lot of different runners, and just a theme that I've taken away from interviewing so many different people, is that there's no one way to train for something. Everybody's different, everybody's body is different, everybody's schedule is different.
Sure.
And somebody training for, say, a 3:30 marathon or a 4-hour marathon or whatever, one person might run 30 miles a week and one person might run 60 miles a week. And, one person might cross train more, one person might eat healthier than the other. And I think that one really important thing to remember is you have to do it your way, and you can't compare yourself to how other people are training, because their recipe is not your recipe.
I love that. I mean, I try to get clients to think about that with nutrition, because even though I'm not a registered dietitian, people have all these crazy things that they want to latch onto when it comes to trying to get healthy. And it really is true that, I mean, there's some basics, right? Like, having more fruits and vegetables is a good idea for anyone, but trying to just go after the latest and greatest thing for that, but also for running. I mean, we all are really different. So I think that's really important to remember. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And just, I think also one thing that I've taken from my show and the different inspiring, so many different inspiring people on the show is to just, if you want to be successful in your running or whatever it is that you're trying to do, like you can't expect to do everything in your life well all the time. And that's kind of something I talk about a lot in my own life as well. Like if marathon training is going to be my focus, then my podcast might take a little bit of a backseat during these like really intense 2 months of training. And I think that we have to like give ourselves the grace to have balance in our lives. And the only way we can do that is if we kind of like shift things around and shift our focus a little bit from season to season.
I love that. No, that's definitely great advice. And because also you're a mom of soon to be 4 kids, right? So
Yes.
how do you, as a mom, because I have a lot of listeners who are moms, how do you balance running with being a mom?
I think the hardest thing for me has been the sleep deprivation, because
Sure.
I know a lot of moms get up at like 4 and run before work or run before the kids get it going. And I struggle with that because if one of my kids is up at night, which somebody's up at some point, almost every night,
Yep.
we're kind of in a little bit of a sweet spot right now because our youngest he's about 19 months and he is sleeping really well. But now even so, our older kids will come into our room once a night have to be taken back to their bed. Or for instance, just last night, my oldest had a bloody nose and then I'm like dealing with that. And then I let him get into our bed because I felt like, oh, he probably just wants to be next to his mom. So, then he was flopping around all night. So I woke up very tired this morning and I just like, I prioritize sleep. If I had a rough night of sleep, I am not one of those people that is like, I have to get my workout done at 4 a.m. I have to get up and get this done. And if I need to skip a run because I need to sleep more, I hands down will do that every time because I know how important sleep is to my body.
Sure.
So I'm flexible. I think that that's the big thing with training for this last marathon was doing it with a third kid added to the mix in his first year of life. He started sleeping through the night when about the time I ran the marathon. So when he was 11 or 12 months, he started sleeping through the night. And so I really have to give myself the flexibility to know that if I miss a run or if my weekly total mileage is 40 instead of 48 because on Tuesday I didn't sleep well and Wednesday I needed to give myself a break and not run, that's okay. So I would think that would be my answer, like to just be flexible because you have to be. You don't know what's going to happen. You might have something scheduled. You might have to go pick someone up from school or, one of your kids might be sick. So that's the only way I can make it work is if I'm flexible.
No, I love that. And I think that's important. I mean, I because I don't have kids of my own yet, but sometimes, when I've had an injury and that's kept me, off from what I want to do. And I ended up being okay in my race. Sometimes I try to think, because I've had some sleep issues, recently where I'm like, I really need to get some sleep, and trying to put it in the perspective of, well, you know what, if you couldn't run on your leg, you'd still be able to run your marathon if you got back into your training. So
yeah. And kids or no kids, like if you're having sleep problems, like that weighs on you, whether you're taking care of kids or not. Like people struggle with insomnia. That's a big deal. Like that's hard.
Yep. No, for sure. Well, I'm excited so you have the number 4 on the way. When are you due, Lindsey?
I'm due August 10th and we're having another boy. So 4 boys in this family. It's just like, I truly thought that maybe this 4th was going to be a girl, but it's not. It's another boy. And I'm so excited either way. Yeah. But my husband and I were like, when we opened the little thing to see what it was, like we put it in a little envelope and we had my oldest son read it. I think I felt like just in the moment, if it would have said girl, we would have all been like, "Wow, I can't believe it's a girl." But now that moment's passed, it's like, it's just as exciting. And we are so grateful. We know how fortunate we are to be able to have so many healthy babies.
Yeah. So you're a boy mom for life.
Boy mom, yes, because I am hands down done after this, at least done biologically. I'm not doing this again.
So in terms of your running, what are you, or your training in general, what are you looking forward? What might you end up having as your next goal after number 4 comes into your life, if you're thinking that far ahead?
Yeah, well, so I am due in August, and so I assume I will do a late spring marathon, and in not in a way that I will train to PR. I think I will just try to like build a nice healthy base and be comfortable. My husband and I actually have talked about going back to Boston this year in 2019. My husband ran Boston in this terrible weather this
I
past
know, right?
year. Yeah, and I got to go with him and spectate. My mom watched our older two boys, and we got a babysitter for the youngest, and so we got a little trip out of it, and it was really fun. And we just kind of talked about maybe coming back next year and just running together for fun. He runs way faster than me, but we don't really like. Okay, I shouldn't say we. I should say I, because he was going to race hard this year had
Oh,
circumstances
yeah.
been different.
Yeah.
Not only was the weather bad, but he had a hip problem, and then he was coming off a sinus infection. So, weather aside, the day wasn't going to be his day either way. But um, I just love running the Boston Marathon because I love the environment. I love the excitement and being around all those people. I don't necessarily love racing it hard because there's so much I want to do when I'm there. And, if you're truly going to race a marathon hard, you kind of want to lay low the day before and not walk around a bunch.
Right,
And
right.
I don't want to do that. I want to like go enjoy the weekend and socialize and have some beers. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I assume we'll go do that. And that'll be like a for fun. We'll run it not super fast, but like fast enough that I'm working hard. And then I bet my goal marathon after this baby will be that following fall. So the fall of 2019. And that makes sense because then the baby will be like a good 14 months or something like that. And I've really found after all 3 of my other pregnancies that once I hit a year, I'm really starting to feel like myself again.
Got it. So that's good. Now you know the kind of the
Yeah.
rhythm, right?
Yeah. Can't do too much too soon.
I was saying, you mentioned because you've done the 14. Any favorite marathons or races in general that you've done?
Well, we live in Indianapolis, and so we, in some way, shape, or form, participate in the Beyond Monumental Marathon every year. So that's the first week in November. It's the same weekend as New York, and it's Saturday instead of Sunday, though. And so it's our hometown race, and it's growing every year. I mean, I think this year they had about 15,000 people between the 5K, the half, and the full marathon. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's pretty high, and definitely the majority of the people do the half. But I just love running in my city, and it's nice to race on a course that you know so well, and you see so many people along the course that you just know from living in Indianapolis. So, I mean, I have to say that's my favorite, but it's hard to be, like I ran Boston in 2014, the year after the bombings, and so like I can't really compare any other race to that experience because of how crazy the crowds were and how awesome the support was from start to finish of that race. It was so loud with cheers, and I was also running that race for fun. I do a lot of marathons for fun, I have to say.
I like that though.
Yeah, like I raced them too, but of those 14 marathons, I've probably only like raced hard like 5. Like I love just running for fun and having no stress of time because I think if I only race them for time, I'm sucking a little bit of the joy out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say specifically Boston 2014. And then this past year when I did Monumental and I was able to squeak by with a little tiny PR after my 3rd kid.
No, that's awesome. So as we wrap up here, Lindsey, I wanted to ask you a question that you've asked your guests because one of my guests asked this as one of her questions. And I was like, when I get Lindsey on, I have to ask her.
Oh no, I hope I have a good answer for you.
Well, one thing, what are you loving right now? That's a good one for.
Oh my gosh. What am I loving right now? I am loving popsicles and I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm pregnant, but I just love, like, this is so boring, but ice water and it's getting hot, right? And I'm really into just like iced caramel macchiatos right now.
Sounds pretty refreshing.
I know, and I get them with a little less vanilla than they come with. I get them at Starbucks. I know I want to be the girl that only supports the local coffee shop and stuff, and I do sometimes, but it's hard to beat knowing what you're going to get at Starbucks. Like you know it's going to be
I know,
exact every time.
right?
I'm trying to think what else I'm loving. Oh, I just bought this super cute dress from Amazon. It's like this long floral dress, and it was only $20.
Oh man.
I'll send you the link to it to put it in
Yeah.
your show notes because
Yeah.
it's super cute, super inexpensive. And I didn't realize when I bought it, I thought, I don't know if I'll be able to wear this pregnant or not. And I think I'm going to be able to wear it pregnant because it's like kind of like flowy, boho kind of
Yeah.
looking. So I'll send you the link to it because they have it in like 20 different colors.
I love that. Yeah, getting us ready for summer here with our cool drinks and fun dresses.
Yes. And always my Ofos flip-flops. I live in those in the summer.
Love it. And to close it out, I don't know if you have like a mantra that you think about when you're running your races. I always find that's a fun thing to ask people.
Well, I mean, this past marathon, I just stole everything from my interview with Dina Castor.
Right.
I mean, truly, like I was like in the end of my race, I kept saying like, kept reminding myself that like in the moment choosing to work hard was defining who I was as a person, and like I could choose to give up, but I was choosing to work hard even when it hurt. And I think a big thing, especially with marathons, is staying right where you are, because it is so daunting to at mile 8 to think, oh my gosh, how am I going to feel at mile 24? You cannot think like that, because guess what? Like mile 24 is going to hurt really bad, but like you don't hurt that bad right now at mile 8. So stay in mile 8, you know?
Right. Yep. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And also like when you have a bout of bad feelings in your body or in your mind, even say at mile 17, just remind yourself that that time will pass. Like you probably aren't going to feel, I mean, there are exceptions, but you're probably not going to feel in that dark, miserable moment for the entirety of the rest of the race. So just like focus on getting out of it, but never look too far ahead. Just one foot in front of the other where you are right at that time.
I love that. Well, Lindsey, it's been so great chatting with you and getting to know a little bit more about your story. And obviously, I mentioned you have the podcast, but if you want to just let everyone know where they can find you, I'll put everything in the show notes, but just the best way to connect with you and all that good stuff before we say goodbye.
Yeah, well, my podcast is called I'll Have Another with Lindsey Hein, and I talk to runners and inspiring entrepreneurs, probably a lot of similar type of guests that Catherine has on her show. And then you can find me on Instagram at Lindsey Hein 626, and then on Twitter I'm Lindsey Hein, and also on Facebook I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsey Hein. But I mean, like I feel like the rest of the world, my favorite place is for sure Instagram.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Lindsey.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi, friends. It's Catherine. Hope you enjoyed this episode and learning a little bit more about Lindsey, especially if you are one of her podcast subscribers, and getting all her great tips for preparing for the summer. I hope you'll check out some of her favorite items there. And wanted to just check in because if you are a runner, you'll probably enjoy tomorrow, if you are listening to this episode the day it went live, Thursday, May 24th. Tomorrow on the 25th, we are having a yoga class for runners that you can join from anywhere you're located in the world, as long as you have a solid Wi-Fi connection. This is all part of our 5-year anniversary celebration at Fit Armadillo, my fitness company, the sponsor of the Fit 15 podcast show. So definitely go and check out the show notes for that, or just go to fitarmadillo.com. There should be a pop-up with the link and all the info on that. And if you are listening to this after Friday, May 25th, 2018, I hope you'll still go over to the show notes or just the Fit Armadillo homepage and find that link with the armadillo in its birthday hat and share your vote for future class times and formats, because I kind of want this 5-year anniversary party to go for longer than just this week. So as long as you're interested, we'll keep it going. Hope you get to check it out. And if you are attending on Friday, I will see you in class as a student because I definitely need some help on my flexibility as a runner. Hope to see you there. And if you subscribe to the podcast, I will chat with you again tomorrow. Bye.